You know it's time for recording whenever you hear Mr. Rooster. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel once again. Kenroy here. Now today I'm going to be doing something which I've been wanting to do for a week or two now, and that is to start harvesting some of our produce in our garden. Now if you're new to the channel guys, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified whenever we upload a new video. And if you like gardening videos like this as well as family vlogs, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Now ever since moving into this house, we've done so much work in trying to renovate our garden so that we're finally at a space where we can grow some of our own produce during our short summer months. Now this year 2024 is no exception, and we've started the process of growing some of our foods in our garden. Now every year I do try to grow something new, something different, and this year is no exception. So if you haven't seen some of our videos guys, do check out the playlist which I'll post above for our 2024 garden playlist guys. So do check that out if you want some inspiration and to see what you can grow here in the UK in our very short, albeit exciting summer months. Now today I've got quite a few things to harvest. Now you've probably seen me harvest so far our berries, that's our blueberries, our strawberries, as well as some gooseberries. Now it's time for us to go into the ground and start harvesting some of our produce which are grown in the ground, like our onions, our broad beans, as well as some of our runner beans guys. So I hope that this video will inspire you guys to actually grow your own food. If I can do it, I know that you can definitely do it too. So the first thing that I'm going to be harvesting today is our broad beans. Now these poor guys have been through the mill because they've been attacked by all sorts, by the wind, by the intense sun, at times anyway, but worst of all, those horrible black flies which love to eat and feast on these beans. So today I'm going to be uprooting these and then slowly but surely going through and harvesting each one of these giant beans. Now broad beans are one of the easiest things to grow, and they normally start off early spring, and by early summer they're ready to be harvested. Okay guys, so how I normally harvest our broad beans, I normally just uproot the entire plant, especially once they've started to dry up like this. They do get quite big and oftentimes need some support, and so all I simply do is to pull them up out the ground by their roots, and no doubt I'm going to find some extra goodies, maybe some potatoes hidden in here for good measure, but I'm literally just going to just pull them up like this, and once they're up we'll then go through them one by one in order to get all of the beans. Now unfortunately what tends to happen is they can start getting diseased and start drying out if they're left for too long. But this is what the pods look like, and as you can see they're absolutely huge, and the beans inside are so nutritious, have a real nice earthy meaty taste, and we often cook ours in stew. I'll show you in a little while what they look like on the inside, but for now let me harvest these bad boys. Man, this rooster next door is in full form today guys. Whenever it's time for me to record they get so excited, and my neighbors' roosters. So once that's been sort of decanted with the beans, once we've picked all of them, we just throw that in the pile. There's none on this one, we don't want any to go to waste, and on to the next one. There's no need to be too precious guys, literally just picking, ripping them off of the stalks, and then we'll just discard the leaves, which we used to put in our compost bin, but these days, you know, we just dispose of it, because I'm not going to actually compost this year like I've done in previous years. I mean, the soil is pretty rich from all of the years of composting that we've been doing anyway, and so this year I'm going to give it a miss, especially after my experience with all those slugs in our compost bin last season. So this year I'm going to give it a miss, and then maybe start back a future date. But this is what the beans look like. I'm going to see how much we collect in this container guys. So let me open one of them so you can have a look at what a broad bean looks like, in case you're not familiar. So really bulky pods, and when you open it, this is what you're greeted with, which are really strange looking beans, if I'm being honest. Broad beans are also known as father beans, so I think that's what they're called as well. So you might hear them be mentioned to as father beans, I believe, but I normally call them broad beans because clearly they're absolutely huge. So yeah, I'm going to keep harvesting, guys, and see how much we actually collect. Now on the surface, guys, I thought we weren't going to get much beans, well, nowhere near as much as I'm getting at the moment, because they were infested with all of those black flies. But so far I'm pretty happy, pretty impressed with what I've managed to get out the ground so far, which is great. What I'm also doing is making space for some other crops. So if there's something else I can plant in the ground, at least now I'll have some extra space over here, which is a good thing. Sort of done half of our beans, and that container's got quite a few in there, so we'll at least get a meal or two out of these beans, I reckon. So we've almost filled our metal bowl, guys, although I know that most of it is this bulky pods that they come in. However, really chuffed so far. Harvesting broad beans, gotta love it, guys. So we're almost through the entire lot. A couple good sized ones here, look at the size of that. The length of my whole entire hand. Now, part of this channel, guys, is to obviously show you guys what can be achieved in your very own back garden. And to be honest, it need not take a lot of hard work. I mean, everything takes work, but for the most part, you can make it pretty simple with what you grow. You don't have to grow as many things as we try to do here, but it's so beneficial to try and grow your own vegetables. Not only, you know, can you save money, but you can also have the satisfaction of, you know, having a really worthwhile hobby, guys. It's very easy to sit down in front of the TV on the smart devices and just watch our lives away, or you can come in the garden, get your hands in the soil, be closer to nature, and obviously reap the rewards of all your hard work. I know which one I prefer every time. Okay, guys, that is the final, and I do mean final, lot of our broad beans, and here we go. We've got a whole large bowl full to the brim with these gorgeous beans. Now, I think this will be a job for the girls to pick the beans out of the pods later on. My job is to grow them and get them harvested. But yeah, really happy with this so far, guys. Our 2024 broad bean harvest. It did seem at one point that we're going to lose the entire crop to those horrible black flies, but thankfully we managed to salvage some. I've harvested some broad beans out of this area, but I do remember some potatoes. I knew I saw some potatoes growing in here when I was harvesting our broad beans, because there's always a few potatoes left in the ground after you've harvested, and these basically grew from last year. And I found that potatoes sort of that grow on their own are often the best to potatoes, because I don't know, they just taste that much sweeter because you didn't actually grow them. But yeah, we're gonna harvest some potatoes today that we didn't plant, guys. This is one of the things I absolutely love about gardening. When you made all your hard work, you know, making sure you've enriched the soil and so on, you find that things just thrive and grow even without your loving care. And the interesting thing is you get to reap the rewards of it, which is always a great thing. So we've got some nice decent sized potatoes there, and again, we didn't plant any of these, guys. Should be some on the end of this. They literally just grew on their own accord, which is nice. Sure, there's a lesson in there somewhere. Are we gonna get any more? Now, this soil, most of this is organic from our compost over the years, things which have broken down, you know, food scraps and so on. So it's really nice to see how beneficial it's been. This area didn't exist when we moved in 4 or 5 years ago, and so it's nice to be able to finally reap the reward from all the hard work of building up this raised bed area. So yeah, it's really nice, rewarding. Any more potatoes for me today? Seems we got a small amount this year, which is fine. I know there were some other ones over here that were growing. You can still see some of the leaves dying back, so let's dig up this area, guys. See if we can get some more potatoes. Come on, what do you got? Maybe some new potatoes, some small ones. Nice. Thank you very much. I haven't actually planted potatoes for a couple of years now, and one of the main reasons for that is quite simply because there's just like limited space, and when you've got limited space, you've got to prioritize what you want to grow. Some of the things that we can get in the supermarket fairly cheaply and that are grown in this country is things like potatoes, and so didn't really want to use up all of our limited space in growing potatoes, if you see what I mean. So I thought to myself, we'll take a miss on growing potatoes this year and yeah, focus on other things, which is okay, right? Come on, there must be a couple more in here somewhere. Got some vines. Yeah, they're only going to be tiny, I suppose, because they were all crowded in by the broad beans and the actual produce that I tried to plant. So I'm not expecting a huge potatoes, but as Tesco says, every little helps. Oh, we got some under here. Oh, this one looks like it's a good size one, guys. I do find, guys, that, oh, here we go. Look at the size of this bad boy. So you can see this plant was definitely a lot bigger, and therefore the fruit that it produced was able to grow considerable amount compared to the others. So yeah, grateful for that. Oh, these are absolutely gorgeous. Look at them. There's another one under here. Oh, lovely. Look at these gorgeous potatoes, guys. I can't complain, can I? Considering that we haven't planted any potatoes this year, I'm happy with that harvest. Now when you have compost and you know, have garden scraps in your raised bed, it's like inevitable that you're gonna actually get things growing that you didn't actually plant. I mean, this is the shell from a coconut. Incredible what you can find. I mean, I've had all sorts grown here, from avocados, pumpkins, squash, whatever we eat, you name it, it ends up in our raised bed, start growing without us actually planting it, which is pretty cool. Look at that. That's enough for a meal for a family of 4, if you ask me. So what I've learned so far, guys, you've got 2 types of onions typically. You got what is called a soft neck variety, which are like these ones. They normally go floppy once it's time for them to be harvested, and what that basically means is that the leaves, which obviously pull nutrients from the onion bulb, stop basically collecting nutrients, so it's basically being cut off, and so it's time for them to be harvested. The bulbs will typically not get much bigger now that they've sort of flopped over. They've swollen to their maximum amount. If I show you over here, here's another one that has completely gone over on itself, nice and floppy. What we're going to have to do is remove these ones in particular and leave them to dry out for a few days and to cure. And what that basically does, it allows them to store for much longer, and I'll probably show you how I'm going to leave mine out to cure. But first things first, let's get these guys out of the ground. So our first onion pull for 2024, let's see if we can hear it. come out the ground. And look at that, guys. Isn't it a thing of beauty? That's our first onions, and believe it or not, this is one of the smaller ones. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm just going to pull them out, guys, shake off the excess soil, and what we need for the next few days is to put these somewhere nice and dry and warm so that it can basically get these necks dried out before snipping them off for storage. See which other ones we can get. Let's get this big one here. Oh, it's a nice size one there, guys. Now, onions are so easy to grow. Once you've got them started, all they need is nice rich soil, plenty of watering, and this is what you could end up with. Another good size one there. Let's get this guy who's completely bent over. I think the roosters approve. Okay guys, it's pretty early to be harvesting tomatoes for the most part. However, you always have a few that start ripening early. Now we're in late July, and as you can see, we've got some tomatoes which are ripening. These are some that I bought from the store, which is a small variety that you can grow in containers. These ones are called Tumbling Tom, and quite a cute name for them if you ask me. And yeah, I'm really psyched because we've got a few that's actually ripened. So I'm going to harvest these. I bet these are going to be super sweet, guys. They're little cherry tomatoes, but their color is absolutely stunning. Here's hoping the camera can do this justice, guys. But they're gorgeous, these nice bright orange colors. So I'm hoping that this is the first of many tomatoes to come. I mean, we've got these ones in the greenhouse, which are absolutely huge in height. However, there's loads of blossoms, but so far no fruit, guys. However, let's hope that they'll be able to grow and ripen in time so we can get some more gorgeous harvest. We've also got some bell peppers which are on the vine, but they're not ready for harvesting yet. These guys are always quite tricky to grow. They do need a lot of heat, which is why I've kept them in pots and kept them in the greenhouse, which is great. We've also got another one coming through on that plant at the back. But like I said, keeping these guys watered, keeping them happy. They're quite fussy if you ask me. The blossoms often fall off once they start growing, but so far so good. We've also got some gorgeous chilies growing on this plant here, guys, which is looking really good. I have no idea what they're called or how hot they are, but it's always nice to see them growing on the plant. And so in a few weeks, undoubtedly these will start to ripen if they are indeed the ones that change color. But if not, I'm sure we're going to enjoy them nevertheless. Okay, so continuing our harvest, guys, one of the experiments, one of the things that we wanted to try again this year is growing some beetroot in our greenhouse. Now beetroots tend to like a more cooler, not too hot climate, sort of temperature, and the greenhouse certainly can get pretty hot, so it's so hard to keep them happy, keep them watered, and you know, not to basically overheat. Now they don't typically get very big when I've grown them in the greenhouse. This year it's been okay, it's not been too bad. I mean, those are some decent little ones. They're not anything as gigantic as the ones you'll see in you know, in the supermarket. However, I'm super happy with those. We can actually eat the leaves as greens, leafy greens, which we often steam, so I won't be getting rid of those. And obviously we can also eat the fruit itself, the root. So I'll harvest a couple of these as we are going around our garden doing some harvest for the day, and the rest of them haven't really produced much yet, so I'll leave those ones in. But for the most part, guys, they've done a lot better than they've had in previous years, so happy days. Okay, so it's time for us to start harvesting our runner beans. I mean, this is one of 3 different sections that we've got with runner beans growing, guys. These things are so beautiful once they start growing, and without fail every year we've grown them. Great for the pollinators, they look spectacular on some lovely trellis, and the fact that they produce loads of beans all through the growing season, what's not to love? They're so easy to harvest as well. You literally just pick them off of the vine like this, and job's done. Now the best time to harvest these are when they're still young, before the beans start forming inside. It's a good idea to harvest them, and as soon as you harvest them, more flowers will start coming out like you've seen over there, and they'll just keep going and going until the late summer, early autumn. So really lovely beans. These were grown from seeds which we had last year, so I feel really proud about that. I've actually saved some seeds, and yeah, we're gonna get loads of these guys. Great for steaming. You can literally just slice them, you put them in your steamer, and they're so tender and nice to eat. So let's get harvesting these runner beans, guys. Now I often end up having so many of these that I've got to give them away, which is a good thing. So as soon as you pick them, there'll be more to harvest. I mean, look at that cluster there, guys. And if you leave them, they do grow into giant pods, and the beans become really mature inside, and it gets to a stage where they can get quite stringy, the pod itself. So picking them early like this, and before the strings are formed in the pods, is probably the best way to go. However, I do also like to leave some of them to get nice, big, mature, and then we can cook them in soup, which is absolutely amazing. Let's go and check our other broad bean, see whether or not they're ready. Look, guys, you can see this white butterfly, which is so harmless looking. Look at it just fluttering away in the distance. These guys are the absolute bane in my existence when it comes to our brassicas. What they do, they come, they look for your cabbages, your leafy greens. What they do, they perch on them, things like your kale, and they basically lay their eggs, which hatch into caterpillars and absolutely destroy your cabbages and all your brassicas. So yeah, hence why you need to cover them or keep them on the netting, or else yeah, you pretty much lose them all, guys. The only thing to do is to use some form of pesticide, which we don't do in our garden, and so the battle continues. Now the last thing that we're going to harvest, guys, is some of our kale, which is starting to bulk up. You can see the leaves up, you know, it's putting on new leaves, which is brilliant. And so I'm going to snip a few of the lower leaves to promote extra growth for the plant, but also so that we can have them for our smoothies and of course to cook in our meals. Last year I grew the traditional green variety of this curly kale, but this year we've tried something slightly different, which is this purple one, which looks really nice. And yeah, just love the way in which it looks. Absolutely gorgeous purple stem with nice bright green leaves. I mean, what's not to love, guys? Keep the larger ones so that we can promote more new growth, which is coming in thick and fast actually as the weather is warming up. Now I've planted a good 3 or 4 of these plants. There's one in the greenhouse and there's 2 or 3 out here in the garden, so I'm sure we'll be able to get loads of harvest. It's like a beautiful bouquet of flowers, guys. Stunning. So after you've trimmed back your kale, taken off some of the larger leaves, you can see the smaller ones starting to come through. Don't be alarmed, guys. This plant is really resilient. It will just keep growing and growing, and as it grows it will just get taller and taller. Just make sure that you give it some horse manure or some fertilizer. It's in the roots, and it will serve you throughout the growing season, and you'll end up with gorgeous curly kale just like this for you to have for weeks to come. Okay guys, that's me done for the day. Our first proper ground produce harvest for 2024 is complete, and we've managed to get ourselves some beautiful onions that are absolutely stunning, that we're going to leave to dry out before storing them. We've also got some potatoes which we didn't plant, however they grew from last year's crop. We've also got some beetroot, which is fantastic considering that we grew these in the hot greenhouse no complaints there. We've got some leafy greens, we've got some Swiss chard, the yellow variety, as well as the green. Well, what we could harvest, the slugs absolutely love eating those things, guys. We've also got this amazing looking purple kale, which is going to be absolutely stunning and tasty in our salads, in our smoothies. And we've got so much runner beans, guys, it's unreal, and it's only the beginning. This is the first harvest of runner beans, and we've already got so many. I mean, look at the size of these, they're absolutely humongous. And yeah, taste of things to come, no doubt. Now we've even got a couple tomatoes here for good measure, as well as our gorgeous broad beans, which we thought we were going to lose these guys because they were attacked by black flies, but I'm really grateful that we managed to get some. So that's it, guys, our July harvest is in, and I just can't believe how much stuff we've gotten from our small little garden here. We've literally got a couple of raised beds dotted around, and we've been able to harvest so much. I know on camera it might seem as if we've got so much space. However, if you've grown stuff in the garden before, you know how premium space is, and although it seems huge, by the time you've got a few crops side by side, you end up with this, with everything sort of falling over each other. These are our sweet corn, which are coming along nicely, and they're fighting for space. We've got tomato bushes just coming out of everywhere. In fact, I'm going to remove this one. I didn't plant this tomato bush, but as you can see, it's decided to take root. I think I'm going to give priority to my sweet corn, guys. Chuck that in the pile. So that's it from me today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed our first proper harvest video of the year. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you're enjoying our video. We really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you in the next one. Until next time, this is Kenroy signing off for another video, guys. Take care, God bless, and happy gardening.